challenges resulting from intentional actions by business, often in collaboration with civil society and government.
For me, I think social impact is a passion and determination.
Okay, good evening everybody, and welcome to our WeChat strategy workshop. I'm here at CEIBS's Shanghai campus. I'm delighted to be hosting this session. Very shortly, I will be introducing the star of the show, Professor Baiguo. But as an admissions officer for the MBA program here at CEIBS, I'd just like to share a little bit about the program that we have, which is a full-time MBA program. And if you enjoy today's session, then please feel free to get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to welcome you to come and visit our campus and to learn more about the MBA. So as I mentioned, we are China-Europe International Business School, a school with a footprint both in China and overseas. We have campuses around the world, our European campus in Zurich, as well as our Africa campus in Accra in Ghana, as well as 3 campuses across China. We count in our alumni network over 25,000 alumni based around the world. And the program that these are some of the professors as well as Professor Baiguo that teach at our school. So we have over 70 full-time faculty. Most of them have completed their PhDs from overseas institutions, and they're here for the same reason that I'm here, and probably you're also joining in to listen today. Everybody here is very excited to play their part in Chinese economy going forwards. And CEIBS prides itself on delivering both depth in China, but also a very global footprint. Okay, so that's the school in general. The MBA program that we have is a 16-month full-time program that's delivered in English from our campus in Shanghai. We are ranked very highly around the world. So number 7 by the Financial Times. The new rankings will be released next month, but also number 1 in Asia across Bloomberg Business Week, Forbes, and the Financial Times. Who studies here? So our profile of students, typically we enroll about 150 each year. They tend to be junior to mid-level professionals, so minimum of 2 years work experience, but the average age of our students is around 30. This year we have a very high female percentage. 50% of our students are female, 50% male, which is the first time we've achieved parity across the 2 genders. This profile snapshot that you can see in front of you now, this is actually the combination of the average of the last 3 years of programs that we have at CEIBS. So the MBA program, as well as delivering excellent strategy lectures like the one that we will receive this evening, it's really broken down into 3 buckets. So we're a very rigorous MBA program, and everybody who joins us in October will spend the first third of the program working on the core modules. So the core modules are really where we deep dive into the major disciplines of business. So everybody does a leadership journey, everybody does organizational behavior, everybody does marketing. So everybody kind of develops that fundamental knowledge of business regardless of the background they're from. Then the middle of the program is where we start to move a bit away from different other MBA programs around the world. It's when the program becomes a lot more experiential and a lot more flexibility. So as well as different electives that you can choose from, there's also the opportunity to go off campus and join strategy projects with companies, to go and do leadership development camps in the Gobi Desert, for example, and also work for Chinese or multinational companies in Shanghai or around China in the 10-week summer internship. So for this way, it really sets it up for people that are looking to leave their current job to come to a full-time MBA because they're looking to make a big change in their career path. The last part of that middle section is also the opportunity to go on exchange. So we have a lot of exchange partners that I'll go into details on a little bit later. And then the final third of the MBA journey is where we really focus on the career development. So this is where we have our annual career fair. This is when we invite a lot of companies to campus to come and talk about pathways for MBAs to develop at their companies. So really it's divided into those 3 sections. First, academic rigor. Second, experiential. And third, the path to pursue career change. Okay, these are just some of the examples that I spoke about this evening. So we call it experiential learning, and this takes place, COVID permitting, both inside China and outside of China. At the moment, we offer these courses at Gobi Desert, in Hangzhou, in Shenzhen, that really kind of focus on pockets of China that have been one of the driving forces behind its success. Another aspect that I mentioned from our program that's really sets us apart, that makes us very popular with our students, is the chance for students to work alongside senior managers at multinationals here, but also large Chinese companies, to address some of the strategic challenges that they're facing in the future. Okay, so this could be going into the likes of PepsiCo to work on a project related to sustainability, or to work with a Chinese company to look at pathways for them to globalize. And I think specifically for students that are looking to change their career direction, this is a really nice way to get hands-on experience. The other thing that I mentioned just briefly is the opportunity to exchange at one of our many partner schools around the world. So if students want to stay in Asia, they can go to the likes of INSEAD or HKUST. If they want to go to the US, then we have great relationships with the likes of Kellogg, NYU, Chicago Booth. Or for students that want to go to Europe, we offer exchanges at the likes of INSEAD Fontainebleau, London Business School, or IESE. We have lots of partnerships with these schools. Most obviously of the students come here because they're either looking to do something on their own entrepreneurially, or to change a specific part of their career. And this is where the Career Development Center comes in. So they are the colleagues that I have in the office that reach out to these types of companies and set up info sessions with them. And most of the time they bring CEIBS alumni back with them to talk about, okay, when I left CEIBS, this is my pathway when I continue to work at this company. So it really gives you exposure to different career paths and opportunities that you might not have seen as readily available. Okay, as I move towards the end of my part of the presentation now, if there is anybody watching this evening that is interested in pursuing an MBA either this year or in the future with the school, then we have a very standardized application process. So first of all, you need to have completed a bachelor's degree or equivalent. You need to have 2 years work experience, which I mentioned before, and you also need to complete an online application. The final part of that online application is you need to submit a valid GMAT or GRE score. More details, happy to answer later on, or you can contact us afterwards. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see our deadlines that we have to apply for the program. So for the October 2022 start date, we have 2 rounds of admission left, one in March and one in May. The final point that I'd like to mention is something that we're very excited about on campus at the moment, and this is the launch of a brand new camp that we've designed for international applicants of the MBA, or young professionals that are interested in the webinar tonight but would like the next step, would like to kind of come to campus and see what it's all about, not through the digital lens, to actually experience it in person. So we've put together this fantastic weekend in February 26th to 27th. And really it brings together our international faculty with current students, with alumni, and allows you to really spend the weekend and soak up the atmosphere of what it's like to be an MBA student and work out if it's the right move for you to kind of take your career path forward. So that's the breakdown of the camp. What I will do at the end of the session in the Q&A is to share a QR code. If you would like further details, then please scan that QR code and join the WeChat group. I think everybody this evening will have WeChat, as that's why they're joining the session. And then I'm happy to share further details once you're there. Okay, now it gives me great pleasure to introduce one of my favorite faculty at CEIBS. So Professor Bai Guo, she's one of our strategy faculty here, also leads the next development camp for our executive education. And she's written this fantastic lecture that we have about the strategy behind WeChat. So we're delighted to kind of welcome her back this evening. And so if everybody could give a nice digital welcome to Professor Bai Guo. If you have any questions throughout the session, please do write it in the chat box or Q&A, or if you're watching on YouTube or WeChat, then please write in the comments. And yes, thank you very much for joining. Enjoy.
Thank you, James, for the introduction. And good evening, everyone. Very nice to meet you. My name is Bai Guo, and well, you can also call me Ginkgo, because Bai Guo in Chinese actually means the fruit of the ginkgo biloba tree. My research and teaching is mostly on innovation and technology management, with a special interest in the digital technologies and how the digital technologies is impacting the business world. That's why today we are going to talk about the innovation ecosystem built on WeChat. Well, if you are familiar with China, if you are living in Chinese, I guess it is impossible for you to not have a WeChat account. So for many Chinese, probably the first thing in the morning is you will be reaching to your phone and looking to your WeChat and to see who texted you. And that's also probably the last thing you do before you go to sleep. But before we start our lecture, I would like to ask you guys a question. So this is a small opinion poll because today, as today's event is a promotional event of CEIBS MBA program, I would personally think that this is probably not the best example of it because really when you are joining CEIBS and a lot of the learning you do are in fact not from the faculty members or not from the professors, but really from your classmates, from the ones who are sitting next to you. But today, unfortunately, our communication is going to be a little bit unidimensional. So this is actually a way for me to hear something from you. I see already that the number is rolling on the screen. Well, now 5% voted and 4 voted yes. Oh, now 5. Okay, let's just give it some time to see. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1, 0. Okay, let's call it the end of the poll, okay? We only have 8% who have voted, and to my surprise, 75%, that is 6 out of 8, voted in-house, which means most of us believe that the rise of giant platforms enhance the innovativeness of the economy. It's kind of to my surprise because recently in China, we actually hear a lot of discussions about how platforms might be monopolizing the market and in this case, actually suppressing the innovativeness of the whole economy because some of the smaller companies or entrepreneurs will be somewhat scared of the platforms because they may feel that even if I discovered a new product or I innovated the business models, once this product or the business model is proved to work by the market, then it's very likely that big platforms, because they are very powerful with their resources, might be then just copycat whatever these small companies, small businesses are doing. How are we going to evaluate then these tendencies for the platforms to kind of monopolize the market? Well, if you're looking at the slides, if you see that we draw some little guys there, like some small figures, we'll see that if we connect them, if there are 5 persons and we want to connect all of them, then it forms 10 connections, right? But if we're adding 1 person, then how many new connections do we form? Right, so we are going to form 5 more new connections, and so the total number of connections comes to 15. Well, which means that the value of the network potentially can increase with the number of users in an exponential way because the value of the network then equals n squared. That is called Metcalfe's law. Well, this is probably not the first time you guys hear about this network effect and network's law. Can we turn this off? Sorry. The opinion pool screen. Yes, thank you very much. I want to maybe give everyone a minute to think about what do you think is the problem of the Metcalfe's law. We all learn about it, but I want you to think about, is there anything wrong with it? Does the value of a network really equals n squared? Okay, again, unless like in a classroom, I can't really directly hear from you guys. But there's an important assumption for this law to work. That assumption is every member of the network can potentially make a connection with each other. That is a very strong assumption, because if you are thinking about, for example, the network of DD, right? So there is a connection formed between the drivers and the passengers. However, there aren't too much incentive for the drivers to connect with each other or for the passengers to connect with another passenger. You see my point? So in fact, in the real world, on a lot of platforms, it is not possible, or at least not necessary, for each member to make a connection with each other. Which means that different networks may have different degrees of strength in network effect. Well, today we are going to talk about WeChat. What about the network of WeChat? Well, WeChat is one of those fortunate cases, right? Because on WeChat, like in a telephone network, everyone indeed has a potential to be connected with each other, and they have an incentive to do so as well. So this kind of network, we call it same-side network, and they enjoy direct network effect, which is a very strong effect. And if you're looking at the DD kind of platform, then that network, we call it cross-site network, because you are connecting one group, that is the drivers, with another group, that is the passengers. And this kind of network also enjoys network effect, but we would think this kind of network effect is less direct. We call it indirect network effect. And sometimes we may think this kind of network effect will be weaker because, for example, if we have too many passengers on one side, it will certainly attract more drivers. But it is not a good news for the other passengers because it may mean that it will take them a longer time to find a ride. So network effect is really important for both platforms and for the users, because normally the more users we have, then the more value the network has, and also the cost of switching networks might be stronger. So that poses a question to what we have discussed earlier, that is whether platforms will suppress or enhance the innovativeness of the economy. Because normally we would think that the more smaller players in the economy, the more innovative it may become because there are more people searching. So if a network is becoming too large, then it may enjoy a monopolistic position in the economy, and the idea is that it might suppress further competitors from entering the market. When we look at monopoly, before, if you want to understand if a company is really monopolizing the market, we normally look at its market share. If the market share surpasses some certain percentage, then we think this company is monopolizing the market, and sometimes will break the company down. But if you are thinking about a platform economy, such as WeChat, can we really judge if the company is monopolizing the market just because of market size? Or even if we do, can we really just simply broke it up? The answer is probably a no, because, well, think about it. If one day the government decided that WeChat is too powerful and they decided to break the network down, so half of your friends stays on WeChat and half of your friends goes to another platform to interact, it's going to be posing a great problem for everyone, right? So probably no one wants to accept that kind of solution ever. In this case, can we still judge whether a company is really behaving monopolistically or not according to its market size only? And if they do, how are we going to handle this problem? Well, again, as I can't hear from you guys, I will just pose this question to you, and hopefully we can reach an answer towards the end of the lecture. Well, for me, I actually agree with most of the friends who have answered our poll question. I also think that, in fact, if we are looking into it, platforms are really promoters of innovation, but not the contrary. Well, but there are conditions to it. The condition is if they behave properly, and we'll define what is properly later towards the end of the lecture. Well, first, let's look at the platform again. Well, when we are looking at platforms, right, when platform economy first emerged, a lot of the times we think about platforms as transactional platforms or a vehicle for transactions. For example, if we're thinking about Taobao, which is the largest e-commerce platform in China, we see that it behaves like a market, which means that this is a place for the buyers and sellers to connect with each other so that the transactions between them can happen. But more and more, we begin to observe that platforms are not simply a market-like vehicle. It sometimes even behaves like firms, right? It provides a certain kind of collaborative mechanisms, or sometimes even like they will actively regulate and manage the interactions on the platforms for people to collectively achieve a common goal. Well, if we take again the example of Didi. Before the emergence of Didi, we see that most of the taxis are managed by taxi companies. Of course, we have some freelancers, but still, majority of them are managed by taxi companies. But now we see that Didi has replaced a lot of local taxi companies to be a central coordinator of even more taxi drivers. I mean, taxi in a broad sense, right? To enable people to provide rides for the passengers. And there we can see that the drivers are behaving properly because the platform provides certain regulations and algorithms that in fact manage and monitor the behaviors of the drivers. So they will behave properly. For example, once in my classroom, one of my students mentioned his experiences several years back before Didi's birth in a small city, that once he got onto a cab, he was actually locked by the driver because the driver wants to wait for other passengers. He wants to wait for 4 passengers before he actually drive. And now we can't even imagine that. We probably think this is not even lawful, and we will certainly, if that happens, we will certainly report it to the Didi platform. and the driver will be then facing serious trouble. But now we see these kind of behaviors has almost disappeared, at least not on the Didi platform. But so in a sense, this kind of platform then really behave like a firm, right? And there we can see that different members are actually complementers. They complement each other to form a certain kind of collaboration in order to create a common value. So in this way, we begin to understand that platform is not just a market or a media that is connecting people. It is now becoming at least an infrastructure. It is actively shaping the business and economic world that we are living in. So it is a way of organizing economic activities instead of just facilitating transactions. So if we are understanding the problem like this, then we see that this kind of infrastructure is becoming increasingly necessary or impendable in this digital world. In a sense, if you look at it, now we even kind of have a new way for the division of labor. So some of the companies will be providing the service. So such as the platform providers, they are providing the infrastructure and that's shaping the system, they're the system shapers. And then some companies, they will become behaving like threads that are linking the dots together. So in a sense, they can be very flexibly forming new value chains. For instance, if you're looking at some of the KOLs who are doing business on Taobao or WeChat, we see that they are not producers or not even designers of any products, but they connect brands and product providers, service providers with the final users. So because they are connecting the dots. And also, of course, then there are people who are still doing business, kind of like doing business as usual. We call it modules. So which means they are the ones who really produce and provide the products and services and to the end users. However, they have very limited impact on the network structure. So this is kind of like a new way of labor division in the digital age. And this new way of labor division is efficiency enhancing, not otherwise. It doesn't just enhance efficiency, it also enhances innovation, because then collaboration or coordination can be more convenient. Now we can see startups that is really starting from the garage, but because they can very easily leveraging the supply chain and finding customers on certain kind of platforms, it's actually easier for them to shape their businesses, especially in the early stages. So in a sense that as the connectiveness and coordination of our society is becoming tighter, then we can see that in fact, when we want to expand our business, we do not even need to provide a final product or service. We can in fact just provide our capabilities, our unique capabilities, to form a collaboration with others so that we can together provide certain services. Such as on the Didi platform, the drivers will provide their services in driving, but it's the it's the network, it's the platform that is doing all the rest, that is connecting the passengers with the driver, regulating the whole network, try to regulate or monitor the behaviors of both the passengers and drivers and so on and so forth. So back to our case. I don't know if you have the access to the case, but probably you guys have some experiences or heard about WeChat before. Can we have some examples of how some third-party companies leverage the WeChat platform to have some kind of innovative activities? Well, again, I can't really see you, but well, I will see if some comments coming in. But if not, then I'll just go on. Well, let's go back maybe to these slides first. Well, we say that in the digital age, we have new ways for the division of labor, that someone is providing the service, the surface, like the platform, someone is behaving like thread, someone is behaving like dots. What role do you think innovators on the WeChat platforms often plays? Well, the answer is most of them plays the role of the thread. That is, they will provide certain kind of linking mechanisms for the customers to to realize certain kind of final purpose, like final purchase, for instance. Because the WeChat network, first, it is very, very wide, right? I mean, basically every Chinese, as far as he or she is a mobile phone user, probably he or she is on WeChat. Actually, even not just Chinese, right? Any international who has any kind of contact with Chinese people, probably some Chinese will be advertising their adoption of WeChat already. So it is a very large and very wide network. But this network is kind of distributed because each person plays as a central node in this kind of network, because we all have our WeChat friends. So we are a node because we can then disseminate information to the friends who are connected with us, because there's the moments, right? The 朋友圈. So many innovators or entrepreneurs will then actually leverage this platform to try to connect the customers together. There are two main mechanisms people use to try to connect these scattered circles of people. One way is they will be then trying to design certain kind of rules or mechanisms for people to naturally spread the information around so that people can be connected. The best example probably, I don't know if you guys have heard about it, if you live in China probably, is Pinduoduo. Well, Pinduoduo is kind of like a cheaper version of JD, Jingdong. So it's also an e-commerce platform. And it sells products that are fairly cheap. Now the whole brand has kind of, uplifted itself. But at the beginning, you really find things on it with insane prices. For example, you can buy a bag of washing powder, for example, with the price of 5 yuan or half a dollar, something like that. So it's really, really insane. But how can you benefit from this price? Well, this is not really for free. In order to benefit with this price, this very, very low price, you need to invite your friends to buy this something with you. So it's kind of like a group buying. But instead of like posting this selling information online and accumulate enough users to reach the low price, this kind of group buying is you invite your own friends to join you so that you can reach a price, a very low price. So you see, this is a very, very smart way of leveraging the friends circle around, anyone who is interested in this sale. So these kind of mechanisms really work magic. Very quickly, Pinduoduo spread it like virus on the WeChat platform, to an extent that WeChat platform after a while had to block Pinduoduo's activities on the WeChat platform because people began to complain that their moments are filled with too many feeds about this kind of group sale. But we see still, even after WeChat blocked Pinduoduo, Pinduoduo still maintained then a lot of the users then to their customers, to their platforms. So in a sense that Pinduoduo has really succeeded to leverage the user group already formed on WeChat to reach or to initiate their success. So that's a very, very interesting example. A second example, a second method of making the connections or taking advantage of this kind of platform is, I call it enlarging your small world, which means that it is possible then for you to try, or any entrepreneur to try to attract more people to be your fans, right? Because on WeChat, we have the opportunity to build up the public accounts. With the public accounts, then you can post whatever you like and attract people to follow you. And a very good example is Becky's Fantasy. So Becky was a fashion editor in a fashion magazine. In 2014, she quitted her day job and started this public account, which focuses on fashion information like clothes, shoes, how to make makeup, so on and so forth. Quite different from the fashion magazines, though. Becky didn't try to make herself remote, which means like to make herself look extremely luxurious, but she really tries to talk to young girls mostly, how they can integrate fashion into their everyday life without spending too much money. So it's much more. So it's closer. It feels closer to the customers or to the readers than fashion magazines. And very quickly, Becky succeeded to accumulate a lot of fans and followers. And later on, she, of course, certainly leveraged these public accounts to first make some advertisements. And also now she has started her own fashion brand. And most of the sales are made on these public accounts. So you see, this is another kind of business model, which means you are not really connecting all these distributed circles of friends, but rather you try to make yourself a larger and stronger circle of friends, right? So in this case, maybe you did not have too many customers, but it is you can build a very deep connection with your customers so that it is possible for you to kind of like cross-sell different kinds of products and do different, like try to diversify the ways you make an earning out of this group of final customers. So this is another possibility. But you see, with this kind of possibility, it is also impossible without the WeChat platform. It is not just that without the WeChat platform, you can't reach so many customers, but also thinking about selling. Without the WeChat platform, without the proper ways of exhibiting your products, and without the proper ways of making the transactions of money and also of course handle the logistics, it will be fairly difficult then for individuals like Becky to make the business starts. But of course, now she has a very established team to help her. So you see, really, with platforms, it is really an enabler for large-scale collaboration, not just for the platform providers, but for any other individuals like you and me or other businesses. So my second question is this. We see that WeChat now can behave as a promoter of innovations. But if you recall or if you have the information about this, in the PC age, the most popular social media tool was QQ, which is also provided by Tencent, the company. But QQ had a very bad reputation. It's notorious for suppressing innovation. There's a saying in Chinese that QQ was 一直在模仿，从来不创新. It has always been imitating, but never innovate. What Tencent did in the QQ era was when they see that some business is working well, for example, music player is doing well, then they will then have their own version of music player like QQ Music. And thanks to their control of the social network, of the platform, and also thanks to the enormous user base of QQ, then it is possible for them to become the #1 music player in China. In fact, very easily so. So that certainly really aroused a lot of conflict in China. The most important one was in China, we call it 3Q 大战, the war of 3Q. So Q refers to QQ, certainly. 3 refers to a company called 360, 360, which is a company that provides antivirus services. And what QQ did back then was to then like automatically, if you download and install QQ or update your QQ, it will automatically has the antivirus tool provided by QQ. And if that's the case, for anyone who is using the QQ tool, will have no incentive to install other antivirus services or software. So that really aroused a lot of problems, and eventually it ended with QQ, in fact, like making the apology. So in the age of WeChat, Tencent really refrained itself and has becoming very conscious and very careful not to abuse its power as platform providers. So what are the behaviors of the platform providers that might be deemed as violating or abusing their role as platform provider then? Well, I would think there are the major ones are here. First is bundling sales. So it's kind of what QQ did with the antivirus software. Actually, many people have done the same things. Microsoft, for example, once you installed Windows, automatically you will have Internet Explorer already installed to your company. This kind of bundling really suppressed the room of survival for a lot of companies who are providing Explorer services. And also there can be unfair platform rules, such as Apple, who has made a very difficult time for Google when Google wanted to provide the app called Google Voice, because that can create a direct competition with FaceTime. So they actually had a very difficult time getting into the App Store. And in China, for instance, we had Taobao and JD, which are the two most powerful e-commerce platforms in China. They once asked the brands or the sellers to choose from between them. Like, so basically, if you are a brand, if you want to sell on the e-commerce platforms, Taobao and JD will ask you, which one of us do you choose? If you sign a contract with Taobao, then you cannot sign a contract with me, like if I'm JD. Like the other way around is also true. So that's certainly some rule that is not fair and violating the regulations in China. And eventually the Chinese government called that off. And also the platform providers are very powerful price sellers. Take Didi, for example. Didi will charge 21% of all the transactions made on their platform, which means the drivers will have to give 21% of their revenues to the platform. And Xiaomi, for instance, also has a very strong influence on the product providers on its platform. And these behaviors, we can't say it is unreasonable, but still it's very important for us to look at the prices, and maybe the regulators needs to supervise the price setting mechanism, because that really has a very strong impact on the network or the ecosystem on the platform. And also the platform can take advantage of the traffic for sure. For instance, Cainiao, which is the logistic company of Alibaba, really took advantage of the Taobao platform. If you're looking into it, Cainiao as a logistic company actually do not have any, any cargo or any delivery man. They don't have any of that. But already they are valued as the number one logistic companies in China because they are tied up with Taobao, right? So nowadays, if I buy something on Taobao, if I want to return it, very easily I just click on return, and someone will come to my apartment to pick the parcel up, and that digital service is provided by Cainiao. But it's not Cainiao who then get the parcel. They will then distribute these tasks to some other logistics companies, but they will make a huge profit out of this flow of traffic. And sometimes they will even enter into direct competitions with the complementers. I mean, the platform will be directly competing with the complementers. Take Amazon, for example. Some researchers made some studies on Amazon, and they find that, in fact, Amazon shows a higher tendency to directly sell products by themselves with the categories of products that has a higher revenue. So that will then suppress the smaller players to the long tail, which means they can only be playing with the categories that has smaller revenues. Similar things happens in China as well. But we'll see that if the complementers, which means the participants of the network, can provide services with higher expertise, then it will be more difficult or for the platform to directly enter into the competition, because they will worry that this kind of behavior may scare the participants away, because after all, the value of the platform really depends on the size of its users. Okay, so back to the question, is the WeChat network monopolistic? We would say, well, according to the number of users and the market share, maybe yes. But we'll see also that, probably I'll skip this. We'll see also that as the network is somewhat scattered, so the WeChat kind of network, they need to be very careful from what they do, because if they really misuse the network, then it's very possible for them to scare their users away and chase them to other platforms. Then they will lose everything. But still, we can see that Tencent can still really take advantage of this very large user pool to for their own benefits. For example, if you are looking at the payment tools in China, we'll see that although Alipay has started much earlier than WeChat Pay, now it's really 50-50. So people are using the market share of these two payment tools are really similar. And we can see that even WeChat will enjoy a higher market share with offline kind of situations. So, so the conclusion is this, that although platform economy might occupy a very large user base or have a very large market share, if they can stick to their roles, which is if they behave very loyally as the mediator, gatekeeper, or regulator of the network, then they are not necessarily to be defined as monopolistic, because their role in the economy is necessary and beneficial for the overall economy. But if they misuse their roles, which means that they took advantage of their role as a platform provider, and or even kind of like a god, right? To do things such as what we have mentioned, then we have reason to question their roles. So in another sense, that nowadays we actually have, it's actually more challenging for the regulators to understand, to define what is really a monopoly, and also it is also becoming more challenging for the regulators to understand them how they can really guide the behaviors of platform providers, so that they can really work for the overall social benefit instead of the contrary. All right, so I'll probably end here because we only have less than 10 minutes left, and I do hope that we can have some questions, so we can really have some interactions. Let me see. Oh, we do have some questions here. So the question is this. Debbie asked, so far, examples are all about B2C businesses. Could we explain how B2b business leverage WeChat platforms, and with examples? Thanks. Very, very good question. Well, first, we have to admit that the advantage of WeChat is really its wide user pool. That is why a lot of the businesses and entrepreneurs were really leveraging this tool to manage B2C kind of relationships. In the recent 2 years, Tencent and WeChat team really paid a lot of attention to provide more services to the B side, to businesses. That's why now we have enterprise WeChat. So, but the reason many businesses applies enterprise version of WeChat is also still because it is easier for them to connect with their customers. For instance, if you are Salesforce, before it's the salesperson who added the guests to his or her personal WeChat account. And that makes it very difficult for the company to keep stable contact with its final customers, because there might be a high turnover rate for its sales force. But with the enterprise version of WeChat, then people are then added. You are adding the salesperson, all right, but still this salesperson can very easily pass all this friend network to the other salesperson, and so the customer pool can retain with the the company. So that is a very strong advantage of WeChat when it is trying to promote itself for the usage of firms. But back to your question, then how about B2B businesses? There are several kinds of B2B businesses, examples of B2B businesses leveraging WeChat platform. One kind is the third-party digital service providers. For example, if you are a developer who can help retail companies to set up stores on the WeChat platforms, because a lot of the retailers, they are not necessarily expert in digital technologies. So they will have difficult time understanding how to set up their stores on the WeChat platform. And then third-party service providers can then use the Tencent network to provide services to these retailers. And that kind of example is really very wide, because now it's not just about retailing, right? There is also what they call the 小程序, the small programs. So with the small programs, most of the businesses then can, instead of like building their own apps, they can build up some kind of small programs on the WeChat platforms to provide services to their customers. And with then the third-party players, the third-party service providers, then they can be providing these kind of services to these business operators for them to build up their small programs. And another kinds of B2B services would be then for the to-B kind of business providers to then leverage this kind of small programs also, right? Then to reach or maintain their business collaborators or their customers on the WeChat platform. So that also works. Okay, now we see quite a lot of other questions coming. Oh, sorry, I can't control here. Let me try there. Okay, I can only see the last question, which is Jason Shen, who asked this question, said, which had been so advanced compared to all the apps being used outside of China? How does WeChat and the Chinese people see this? Are partnership with foreign apps a good idea? I don't know exactly what you mean by partnership with other foreign apps. But I agree with you. I don't know if advanced is the most accurate word to describe that. But I do see that what is very unique to China is in China we have a lot of mega apps, which is similar to WeChat. But in fact, if you look at 支付宝, Alipay is the same, right? The app is becoming so powerful that it encompasses everything. Basically, you can do anything that you imagine on WeChat or Alipay. Well, if you want to pay your electricity bills, you want to pay, you want to buy a train ticket, if you want to book a hotel or buy a cinema ticket, well, you name it. And this is indeed quite unique to China. And personally, I do have some worries about this kind of mega apps. Because if this kind of apps, they are doing everything, then it's kind of like a bundling sale. Potentially, I do feel that may suppress other business providers or smaller business providers to provide their services, and probably, or maybe in even more innovative ways. But that, yeah, that I don't know. But still, I think it's there should be a limit to those platform providers. They should have a better definition of exactly what kind of businesses or what kind of domains they are working in. A question from WeChat: how can B2b business use WeChat to grow? I think this is similar to what we have discussed before. And this question, I can't see it in full. We have lots of apps and most of them can be considered as platforms. So my question is, are they in competition? Oh, certainly. That's certainly true. And even if we have powerful apps and platforms like WeChat, I do believe with time, we will see mutations. And that is healthy. So basically, during the lecture, I kind of expressed my view saying that platforms and networks are necessary, right? They're necessary evil in a sense. But if we have one platform or one network that is so dominant and it dominate the market forever, then that's certainly not healthy. So we can understand in this way is like, even if by a snapshot at the current moment, maybe the surface and thread and dots, they have kind of like hierarchical positions in the economy, that's okay. But personally, I don't think it is a healthy thing to have one company always occupies the platform role. So which means the platforms, they should be competing with each other. And in a healthy economy, we should see a mutation of different platform playing the dominant role from time to time. Okay, in fact, now it's already time. We are already some minutes behind. So I will probably pass the stage to James, as he may have some ending remarks. And James, the stage is yours.
So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us this evening. I hope you did enjoy the session. You can see in front of you the QR code. We have a WeChat community, of course, following this lecture. So if you'd like to stay up to date with developments at CEIBS and then also activities that are upcoming, then please scan the QR code. And my colleagues and I in admissions are in that group. Also, finally, if you are in China and interested in our Beyond Borders camp that I mentioned at the start of the presentation, then please feel free to ask there, and we're happy to share more details. I wish you all a very nice evening. Thank you very much, and we hope to see some or many of you on campus soon. Take care. Thank you. Yeah.